Happening this morning, Connecticut is saying goodbye to Rabbi Philip Lazowski. He was a Holocaust survivor who spent more than 4 decades serving the greater Hartford community. He passed away peacefully at his home Thursday at the age of 96. Your reporter Sierra Jordan is live in West Hartford, where funeral services will be taking place later this morning.
Good morning, Taylor. We're here at the Emmanuel Synagogue, where Rabbi Lazowski served this community for more than 40 years. And later this morning, family, friends, loved ones, and even state leaders will all gather here to say their final goodbyes. Rabbi Lazowski's story begins in Poland, where at just 11 years old, Nazis invaded his hometown. He survived 2 terrifying encounters, including the moment his mother pushed him out of the second-story window to flee a raid. Her final wish was for him to tell the world what happened. And he did, spending 3 years hiding in the forest before eventually making his way to America. He became the first rabbi to serve as chaplain to the Connecticut State Senate and chaplain to the Hartford Police Department. Over his lifetime, he wrote 16 books, Holocaust survival memoirs, and Jewish faith handbooks, each one a promise kept to his mother.
He connected to other faith communities and led his own community. I mean, he just lived this life of like living up to his mother's last words. He was somebody, and he spent his lifetime telling people about the Holocaust because it was a lesson everybody needed to hear. And he was an amazing inspiration to so many people.
And if you would like to attend today's services, there is still time to register. We've posted that information on our website and the WFSB app, or you can also watch it live stream. Your reporter live in West Hartford, Sierra Jordan, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.